What if I told you the Knicks might be on the verge of a franchise-altering move? Not just a coaching hire or a bench upgrade, but a decision that could completely reshape the team's identity heading into the next season. In the next few minutes, we're diving into everything that's happening behind closed doors at Madison Square Garden, from secret interviews to a rising favorite for the head coach role, and even a surprising twist involving free agency that no one saw coming. But here's the thing, this isn't just about names or rumors, it's about strategy, locker room chemistry, and what the front office is really planning for the future of this team. And trust me, once you hear who's involved and what it could mean for the Knicks' chances at a title push, you're going to want to stick around. Because by the end of this video, you're not just going to be caught up, you're going to see the bigger picture. So, let's get into it. Major developments are unfolding in New York as the Knicks move closer to naming their next head coach for the 2025-26 season and beyond. With coaching interviews wrapping up and free agency heating up, this could mark a transformative phase for the franchise. While several candidates remain in the picture, all signs now point to the Knicks nearing a final decision, one that could reshape the team's future. Alongside these coaching updates, there's also fresh news on a key free agency target. So let's break everything down. Right now, the buzz surrounding the Knicks is louder than ever. One name has stood out throughout the process: Mike Brown. From the moment the news broke that Tom Thibodeau was out, Brown emerged as a leading candidate. He's consistently been near the top of every shortlist, and reports suggest he's made a strong impression throughout. While some early speculation mentioned Mike Malone and Johnny Bryant, Malone never interviewed, and Bryant hasn't progressed in the process, despite ownership previously showing interest. In contrast, Brown went through not one, but 2 rounds of interviews with the Knicks front office. Most notably, his second meeting included team owner James Dolan, signaling that the decision-making process is in its final stretch. Typically, when ownership gets involved, the team is nearing a conclusion. This supports the idea that Brown is clearly under serious consideration, possibly even the front runner. In addition to Brown, the Knicks have reportedly spoken with other candidates like James Borrego, Taylor Jenkins, and Mike Noiroti. There was even contact with South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley, as confirmed by her university's athletic director. But Brown remains the only coach to secure a second sit-down with the Knicks, which strongly hints at the team's focus and potential direction. Of course, nothing is official yet. The Knicks are continuing to conduct interviews and aren't rushing their decision, even with the pressure of free agency looming. It's important to note that New York has integrated its coaching search with its free agent outreach, and that strategy seems to be paying off. The team has already secured 2 critical additions to its bench unit: Jordan Clarkson and Guershon Yabusele. These signings demonstrate that the front office isn't waiting around. They're moving swiftly to build out a deep roster that can support the Knicks' core stars. The bench is getting a much-needed overhaul, and the results are already impressive. All in all, the Knicks are playing their cards wisely. They're being methodical about choosing the right head coach, while simultaneously improving the team's depth through free agency. And if Mike Brown does get the job, he'll be stepping into a franchise that's already gearing up for a strong playoff push with a fortified roster behind it. Stay tuned, because this is just the beginning of what could be one of the most pivotal offseasons in recent Knicks history. Things are shaping up in a big way for the Knicks, especially when you look at how much stronger the bench is going to be compared to last season. This is particularly exciting because whoever steps in as the next head coach is expected to give the second unit far more playing time than what we saw under Tom Thibodeau. Just take a look at the Jordan Clarkson signing. The guy averaged more points per game than the entire Knicks bench combined last season. That alone signals a dramatic shift. The rotation is about to get deeper, and those bench minutes are about to become much more meaningful, regardless of who ultimately gets the coaching job. That said, while several names remain in the mix, all signs are pointing toward Mike Brown being the frontrunner. It's starting to feel like the position is his to lose. Sure, the organization is still conducting interviews, and they're doing their due diligence. Other serious contenders like James Borrego and Taylor Jenkins are still in play. But at this point, it really feels like Brown has the edge. Mike Brown brings a wealth of coaching experience to the table, having led 3 different teams during his career. He started off with the Cleveland Cavaliers, then had a stint with the Lakers, returned to the Cavs for another season, and later joined the Golden State Warriors as an assistant coach. His second departure from Cleveland coincided with LeBron James returning to the franchise. LeBron reportedly preferred a different coach, and the team ended up going with David Blatt, who didn't last long. That eventually led to Tyronn Lue taking over. Meanwhile, Brown thrived with Golden State, helping the Warriors to championships in 2017 and 2018, and a finals appearance in 2019. He also remained with the team during their 2022 title run. Eventually, Brown took over as head coach for the Sacramento Kings, guiding them to their first playoff appearance in nearly 3 decades. That alone was a major accomplishment. While the team failed to make the playoffs the following year, they still finished with a winning record. But things started to unravel afterward, and when Brown publicly criticized De'Aaron Fox, it marked the beginning of the end. The franchise eventually decided to move on. Now, I've been vocal before about having mixed feelings when it comes to Mike Brown as a head coach. Personally, he wouldn't be my top choice, but I'm also not going to be upset if he's the one who gets hired. One area where his coaching style would stand out is in the minutes distribution. It would be a complete departure from the heavy load approach we saw under Thibodeau. Looking back at Brown's time with the Kings, their rotation was more balanced. Domantas Sabonis led the team in minutes during their playoff campaign, with around 34 per game, followed closely by De'Aaron Fox at 33. Harrison Barnes and Keegan Murray were both around 30 minutes, while Kevin Huerter wasn't far off that mark either. Malik Monk played about 22 minutes a night, Davion Mitchell logged 16, Trey Lyles had 17, and others like Terrence Davis and Chimezie Metu also saw regular time on the court. That Kings bench wasn't exactly elite, yet it still saw consistent involvement. Now imagine that same coaching philosophy applied to a Knicks roster that's significantly deeper and more talented. The Knicks are a legitimate finals contender. Their core is strong, and the biggest issue last season was a lack of bench production. That's no longer the case. Let's say Mitchell Robinson ends up holding down the starting center spot. Previously, I used Josh Hart in that starter example, but now let's reframe it. I actually believe Deuce McBride deserves the nod as the starting shooting guard. The idea here is that with this improved bench and a coach willing to use it properly, the Knicks are setting themselves up to compete at the highest level, and that's what makes this coaching decision so important. Actually, let's go ahead and build out this idea, because this is exactly the starting 5 that, in my opinion, makes the most sense for this team. It's a lineup that aligns with what they need both stylistically and structurally. Imagine this. You begin the game with Jalen Brunson and Deuce McBride sharing duties in the backcourt. Then, on the wings and in the front court, you've got Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns. Is this lineup undersized in some spots? Sure, but look at what Mike Brown was able to achieve in Sacramento with a similarly sized rotation. He turned that group into an offensive powerhouse during his first year with the Kings. Off the bench, the Knicks could roll out Jordan Clarkson and Josh Hart, giving them dynamic guard and wing play. Mitchell Robinson could anchor the second unit down low, and then you add in Gershon Yabusele for some toughness and floor spacing in the front court. You've also got options like Tyler Kolek, who could slot into a few different roles. And if they manage to bring back Landry Shamet on a veteran minimum deal, the Knicks would have a very dangerous bench unit. Pakome Diane could rotate in for Kolek, depending on matchups. You could even see Ariel Hukporti getting a look if Mitch starts. The flexibility of this bench is a huge plus. Yabusele has the skill set to operate at both the 4 and 5 position. Clarkson has experience playing both guard spots. McBride, if used in a reserve role, can also toggle between point guard and shooting guard. This gives the coaching staff a deep bag of lineup variations and rotational flexibility. Aside from Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson, who are pretty much locked into their roles and spots, everyone else can be shuffled around as needed. And even with Brunson, despite being undersized, he's proven he can play off the ball effectively. Just think back to how he performed next to Luka Doncic in Dallas. He thrives as a catch-and-shoot guy or slasher when he doesn't have to run the offense every possession. So, pairing him with Clarkson in some lineups could make a lot of sense. And you can bet a coach like Mike Brown would be intrigued by that combination. Looking back at how Brown ran his offense in Sacramento, that team launched threes at a high volume. They averaged 37 three-point attempts per game in that successful run. And that was a few years ago. League-wide three-point shooting has only increased since then. Now consider how this Knicks roster could adapt to that style. With Brunson, McBride, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Towns all on the floor, a true five-out setup. This team would have the spacing and shooting to rain down threes relentlessly. That spacing would open up so many opportunities. Towns would dominate in isolation in the paint. Brunson would thrive in pick-and-roll or pick-and-pop situations, especially when 3 or 4 shooters are spaced around the arc. Opposing defenses wouldn't be able to hide a big on someone like Josh Hart anymore without getting punished. The whole offensive ecosystem would function with much better flow. I genuinely love the way this could all play out. But here's the real question. Do you need Mike Brown to pull this off? The answer might be no. You could argue another coach could bring these same benefits without the drawbacks. And that's why I'd actually prefer to see James Borrego take the helm. Speaking of Borrego, there's a new update on him, and it's coming up next. At this point in the Knicks' coaching search, James Borrego remains firmly in the conversation. Although he's currently employed by the New Orleans Pelicans and under contract, which would make bringing him in as part of a potential Mike Brown-led staff more complicated, his name continues to surface. The front office reportedly holds Borrego in high regard and is still actively considering him as a legitimate option to take over as head coach. The same can be said for Timberwolves assistant Mike Norrie, who's also believed to be a strong candidate. Reports have indicated that if Mike Brown were to get the job, he would be very interested in adding Borrego to his staff in a prominent role. According to league insiders, Borrego is respected across the NBA for his offensive schemes, innovation, and focus on player movement, spacing, and unselfish ball circulation. He's known for getting teams to play fluid, creative basketball, something the Knicks could definitely benefit from. All of the coaches mentioned, Borrego, Norrie, and Taylor Jenkins, have had at least one formal meeting with the Knicks brass. There may still be follow-up interviews in the works, and the team hasn't ruled out bringing others back for second round. So far, only Mike Brown has officially had a second interview, which certainly positions him as the front-runner right now. When evaluating Borrego's head coaching past, it's important to recognize the challenges he faced in Charlotte. His time with the Hornets was often unfairly scrutinized, largely due to a weak roster that simply wasn't built to compete. He did what he could with the players he had, but the organization's issues went far beyond coaching. Since his departure, the Hornets have struggled even more, and their decision to replace him with Steve Clifford again hasn't exactly paid off. In that context, Borrego deserves credit, not blame. Personally, seeing Borrego take over the Knicks would be exciting. He has the tools to be a breakout head coach if given a stronger supporting cast, and this current Knicks team is miles ahead of those Hornets squads. Plus, there's a chance that even if Mike Brown becomes the coach, Borrego could join the staff as associate head coach, similar to how the Knicks lost Johnny Bryant to the Cavaliers under the same circumstances. It would be no surprise if New York made a move like that. In all honesty, Borrego might be the better choice to lead this team over Brown. His offensive mind and fresh approach could unlock a new level for the Knicks. That said, if Brown does take the job, having Borrego alongside him would still be a major asset. What the Knicks will need, regardless of the final decision, are defensive-minded assistants to balance Brown's known shortcomings in that area. On a different note, there's also been buzz surrounding Dawn Staley. Over the weekend, it was reported that the Knicks reached out to her, and this was later confirmed by South Carolina's athletic director. While it doesn't appear that a formal interview took place, it's been verified that initial contact was made. Staley's reputation in basketball is stellar. She's earned immense respect at every level. There's no question that if a woman were to finally be hired as an NBA head coach, it would mark a historic moment. And it wouldn't just be symbolic. Staley has the credentials. The right question to ask isn't about gender, but about coaching ability. Can she lead a professional basketball team? And based on her track record, the answer is probably yes. An organization isn't going to make that kind of move unless they believe in her vision, experience, and leadership. Let's be honest, this isn't about making headlines or checking boxes for appearance's sake. The Knicks are a franchise with their eyes firmly set on competing for a title. And after the backlash they faced for parting ways with Tom Thibodeau, they're not about to make any decisions just to please the public. Every move is about building a winner, plain and simple. Also, since this video's already running a bit long, let's shift gears quickly. There's one more topic to touch on before we wrap things up. Something that doesn't warrant an entire video on its own, but is still worth mentioning. Over the past day or so, Russell Westbrook's name has been linked to the Knicks in free agency speculation. And here's the brief update on that situation. It really only takes about 30 seconds to cover. According to the latest from Stefan Bondi, don't expect Westbrook to land in New York. The reason is simple. There's just no realistic pathway to consistent playing time for him with this current roster. And Russ isn't exactly the kind of guy you leave sitting on the bench without issue. He's a high-energy player who thrives on being active and involved. Statistically speaking, Westbrook still brings solid production to the table. Last season, he averaged 13.3 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists per game, along with 1.5 steals. He connected on 45% of his field goal attempts and 32% from deep. Interestingly, he hit 44% from the corners, showing he still has some shooting value in the right system. Even so, it's unlikely we see him don a Knicks jersey next season. And honestly, that's okay. I've always appreciated what Russ brings to the court, and I would have enjoyed seeing him in New York, but the team already found a better fit in Jordan Clarkson. That move makes more sense for the direction they're headed. As for Russ, I still hope he finds a great situation elsewhere. Denver, for example, could be a fantastic landing spot. He'd bring experience, grit, and energy to a roster that's already primed to contend. Wherever he ends up, I'll be rooting for him to thrive. Now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on everything we've discussed, especially the coaching situation? Drop your takes in the comments below. And yes, I saved the Westbrook bit for last because it was more of a side note than a headline story. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Go grab yourself a cider donut, and shout out to the Hudson Valley Renegades. Big ups to the Yankees High A affiliate. Have a great day. And of course, go Knicks. And while we're at it, go Yankees too.